Today I'm in my 2008 Ford CVPI Crown Victoria Police Interceptor. It's a great day for filming today. The lighting is perfect. And I spent a lot of time detailing the car yesterday, so I figured today would be a great time to do a review of it. I bought this car about a month ago with the intentions to daily drive it. If you follow me closely, then you may already know that I own a 2018 Ford Mustang EcoBoost. That vehicle spends a lot of its time in the garage. I've had it since July 4th and it only has around 1,300 miles. So I wanted to get something that would be reliable, low maintenance, and somewhat fun to drive at the same time. Launch. 60. That right there is the hardest that I have pushed the car, and it did not complain at all. And you can see from that dead stop there, the wheels just, wow. I was actually a little bit surprised with that. I didn't think the wheels would spin that much. Something that could, in a sense, replace the Mustang as a daily driver, since I'm not going to be driving the Mustang every day and I wanted to keep the wear and tear off of it. Ford discontinued the production of the Crown Victoria in 2011. And I used to follow Crown Victorias around 4 or 5 years ago somewhat regularly. Over the past few years, I've kept up on them obscurely from a distance. Somewhere along the line, the market on them just crashed. I don't think it happened right after they stopped production, but you know, a couple years, a year or two afterwards, 13 or 14, I noticed that the market on them was just horrible. If you were in the market for one, then was the time to buy one, because you could get one that was in decent condition for a decent price, and you'd have a good, reliable daily driver without having to put too much money into it. Funny thing is though, these Crown Victorias have actually taken a turn and the market on them is starting to go up. And I've noticed that in the last maybe year or so, that I started looking at them and paying attention to them. Once I bought my Mustang, I wanted to get another Ford to keep the brand loyalty thing going. So I started looking at these, and the market on them has just gone up considerably from what it was. So here it is. As you can see, it has a white exterior. And the department that I got it from, some places you see ex-Crown Vics, ex-cop cars where they had stickers and stuff on the car and they just do a bad job of taking it off. This one's not like that. They took their time. It looks like you can't even really see where there was stickers, and if you get up close you can tell that throughout the whole car there was a line like a lot of police departments have, but this one doesn't have that. And they also took the time to plug their antenna holes, so that's something that I like. It makes the car look neater and prevents any kind of leaks or anything. I've put just under 1,000 miles on it, around 700 to 900-ish miles, something like that, in the last month. And the only thing that I've had to do to it is a gas tank strap because it rusted. Other than that, it's been trouble-free. I did do an oil change, of course, just to get fresh oil in it. Even though it wasn't due, I like to do that when I get a car. I did purchase the Blue Line American flag license plate up front. Matches the unit number. That's its X unit number, 2806, for the department that it was at. And the body of the car doesn't have any rust. Underneath of the car is actually in pretty good shape too. A lot of these Crown Victorias, the underbodies tend to rust. Like I said, the gas tank strap rusted. Everything else though looks pretty decent. There's the underbody. The drive shaft looks like a brand new drive shaft. I venture to say that they did put a new one on. And the Crown Victoria light here, the spotlight, does work. Like to have fun using that at night sometimes. Power windows, power locks, power mirrors. The car did have a prisoner divider in the center of it when I bought it, so I did take that out. Took out all their gear that was in the center here, put that center console thing from Walmart, cost me $29. Very well worth it though. Starts right up. Probably the only complaint that I have about the car, and I think this is a common issue on these cars, they tend to have common problems, is the gauge cluster is very dim, and you can see that my lighting is all the way up. The only way I can really see the miles without getting super close is at nighttime. Something that down the road I might have to get a new cluster for it, but it's not really a big deal. It doesn't bother me too much. Exterior lighting controls. The radio on it, it's just a stock base fleet vehicle radio. It's like right now,
because they know they're calling them a mob, and
it's getting a reception right now, but the reception on it is kind of iffy. The air conditioning is ice cold. That brings me to another thing. Something I did have to do is the Freon was leaking, so I had my local mechanic fix it for a pretty decent price. Back here, I haven't put a ton of time into cleaning it up. I mean, I have cleaned it up. You can see I've cleaned the floor in that. But where the prisoner divider was, these poles, it slid down over these poles, and these are bolted in, holding the seatbelt in as well. This right here, I probably could take off, but it's inside the seatbelt plastic here, and it really doesn't bother me, so I haven't taken the time to mess with it. The tires are Goodyear Eagle Ultra Grips, and they are 235 55 R17s. Probably gonna try to get these through this winter, but after that I'm not gonna try to do too much with them if the car keeps doing well. Probably in the spring I'll be getting new tires for it, if I still have it, if everything goes good with it. The trunks on these cars are monstrous. You guys remember depending on how old you are, you probably remember the old station wagons. They don't even have to necessarily be that old, but if they're like maybe 90s, I think Taurus did it in the early 2000s. They had a rear-facing third-row seat. There's enough room for a rear-facing third-row seat back here. I know it's a trunk, but if they kind of did away with the trunk setup, and you guys get the point. There's just a ton of legroom back here, and there's also storage up there. I could probably fit up there if I really needed to. Over here you have your fuel pump shutoff switch behind this. I haven't messed with that, don't want to mess with that. And here's the extra gas tank strap. It's cheaper just to have the one replaced. The other one wasn't rotted, so I just had them replace one. Something else that I did to the car, not a huge deal, didn't even really cost me anything. I just went in the garage and found a zip tie and replaced it. Underneath here, another common thing on these Crown Vics, the bumpers tend to crack, the clips here. This side cracked, so I just took a zip tie and zip tied it up. I also sprayed some undercoating because the trunk pan was a little bit surface rusted, so I scraped that, sanded it down a little bit, and sprayed some 3M rubberized undercoating, and that stuff is holding up pretty well. I've heard some good stuff about that, so we'll see how that holds up long term though. Rear passenger side over here, and with the prisoner guard in the vehicle, it had absolutely no legroom at all. I mean, you'd get in and your knees would be like this. It was cramped. It's just average legroom back here. These Crown Vics weren't really designed with the intention of having the most legroom, since police officers use them to haul prisoners around, so nobody really rides back here anyway. It's usually just me in the car. Front passenger side, I did shine the rubber floor liner up real nice. Something I'm gonna need to do. When I was removing the center area police equipment, I broke the two front seat bolts off because they're rusted. So I'm gonna have to get new seat bolts. I just haven't taken the time to do it, but if you look under here, you can see, I think you can see it there, the bolts that go through the floor. The bolt heads broke off on the interior. Not a huge deal, but it's enough to, when somebody sits in that passenger seat and you hit the gas, the seat rocks back and forth like a rocking chair. So it's not exactly the safest thing, but it's not really a pressing issue. Let's go ahead and pop the hood. I really haven't done too much under the hood as far as cleaning it goes, so it's probably a little bit messy. Hydraulic hood still works, and you can see, like I said, it is dirty under here, but this is just daily driver. It's not show car or anything. 4.6 liter V8 engine. Another thing, as I keep going through the video, I remember these things as I see them. When I bought the car, I said in my hubcaps video, which leads me to another thing that I did, the car did not have a blower motor, so I did replace, or actually place, no replace, I placed the blower motor under the hood, and the fan wasn't working at all, so that led me to realize that the blower motor just wasn't there. And I also bought these brand new hubcaps off of eBay, OEM Ford Crown Vic hubcaps. As far as major things, I haven't had to do anything major to the car, and as long as I don't have to do anything major to it, I will just keep using it as a daily driver and keep the miles off the Mustang, because that's really the whole purpose of this car. Something that I just like about the car is it's very capable. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the Crown Victoria was one of the last body-on-frame V8 sedans. So picture yourself driving an F-150 truck, a body-on-frame four-wheel drive. Take away four-wheel drive, make it just rear wheel, and put that on a car. A lot of the time, that's how I feel. I feel like I'm driving a truck on a car's body because of its body-on-frame suspension. And that makes it much more durable for police officers with their exhaustive use that they put on these cars. Police officers have to drive these things in winter, they have to drive them off-road, they have to drive them on the city, on the highway. Every kind of driving environment that you can think of, police officers used to put these vehicles through, and I'm sure that there's still some police forces somewhere that are still using Crown Vics. And I've actually heard from police officers that they don't like the newer Interceptors compared to the older Crown Victorias. And I myself, I've driven the newer Tauruses, and just driving a regular Taurus compared to a Crown Victoria, they don't drive anywhere near the way that the Crown Victorias do. And I imagine long term, the Crown Victorias are probably a better vehicle than the newer Tauruses. Driving on these back roads, it takes these corners effortlessly. I'm going around 48, 49 miles an hour right now, and I'm just going through these corners absolutely effortlessly for a full-size sedan. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video of my personal daily driver, the 2008 Ford Crown Victoria CVPI ex-police Interceptor. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more, and subscribe today if you haven't already.